Ebullient greetings. I'm your host, Jacquie Bird of Jacquie Bird Spiritual Wellness, your guide to stress and anxiety relief, mindfulness, awareness, self-care, self-love, and personal growth. Welcome and thank you for joining me as we roll with peace in mind. Today's riff is Are You on the Right Train? Riding on the Urge. These episodes feature people who are doing their thing, they follow their heart and their passion, and they create how they want, what they want, when they want, and they are riding on the right train. Today's spotlight is Bill Easley.
Hello, Miss Jacqueline.
Oh my goodness, William.
Did you hear me? Oh, this is marvelous. I haven't seen you since you were a little girl.
I want you to introduce yourself to everybody. Tell the people who you are and what it is that you do and where you're from.
Oh, geez, that's hard. You're going to start with the hard questions.
Of course.
My name is William R. Easley.
Ew.
I was born at a very early age, and it's a very interesting experience ever since then. I'm a musician, a fourth generation, and I've done nothing but blow air through pipes my whole life. Don't try it at home. It's not an easy way to make a living, and I wouldn't recommend it for youth, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I've been able to survive all through all kind of adversities. I've been to ground zero about 500 times.
And you kept getting up.
Keep getting up. That's the thing. You understand?
My goodness. So Bill, tell folks the instruments that you play.
Oh, I'm a woodwind player. I play saxophone and clarinet and flute, etc. And whatever, if my favorite is whatever they'll pay me to play, that's my favorite. If it's paying, I'm playing.
If it's paying, he's playing.
I started with the woodwinds in general. The mother or the father of the woodwind is the clarinet. You understand? Years ago, if you were, you started with the clarinet. After you've played the clarinet for a while, picking up a saxophone is actually very easy, but not vice versa. In other words, with the saxophone, you can't pick up a clarinet and play it. The clarinet is much more complicated. Mm-hmm. And some people hate the clarinet because it is so complicated. One of my great mentors, Mr. Frank West, he put up the saxophone, the clarinet case, and he'd look, and it comes in pieces. And Frank West would say, the clarinet was invented by 5 different people who never met each other and wouldn't have liked each other had they met each other. A lot of people don't like, but that which opened for me, all the people that hated the clarinet, that created more work for me over the years. And I was most of the better jobs that I had in my lifetime where it was a job that nobody else wanted to do, you see. So they would have to call me because that's the way that I started. And I started working professionally before I ever picked up a saxophone. I started just with a clarinet, but I was in my mother and father's band. And it was like in 8th grade, I started working, and
wow. Let me back up a little bit because I want to talk a little bit more about the clarinet because, I think, at least for me as a child, I wanted a clarinet and I kept asking my parents, could I have one? And they kept saying no.
They were smart. They were smart.
That was your first instrument. I didn't know that.
When you talk to me, you understand everything you say triggers stories.
Oh, but I have to jump in because the thing about it is, Bill, all right. I know Bill from a show called Sophisticated Ladies. It was the music of Duke Ellington, sure, right? And we did a tour. We were on a bus.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Right? And Bill was you were one of my saviors on that trip because we would be on the bus. We'd be traveling 5-6 hours and then we'd have to get off in a city and a lot of times I didn't even get to go to my hotel room. I had to go straight to the theater, right? As the dance captain. But you would tell these stories that just went on and on and on and on. and it just really helped kill the time.
Oh, okay.
It was, yeah, I don't know if you knew that. It was kind of like, Daddy, tell a story. Back there talking. All the musicians would be talking, and then you would go into a story. And
all my friends, they say, don't ever ask me a question unless you have about 2 hours to waste. and I understand. And I'm working on that, believe it or not.
Well, I'm gonna be jumping in because this you.
Oh no! Stop me! In order to get in a word, you're going to have to jump in. You understand? Because when you say something, it's going to take me all the way back. And this is a true story. And as a kid, I remember, I connect all the dots of my life. So when I was a little teeny kid, I grew up in a small town and primarily white population.
Where was that?
Olean, New York, upstate New York, near Buffalo. We went there with Sophisticated because the university, St. Bonaventure's, is there. And on that tour of Sophisticated ladies, that was one of our one-nighters that we went.
Ooh, okay.
But going back to the clarinet and how I gravitated toward the clarinet, it starts with a couple years before then. Me and my cousins went to see the movie King Kong. You understand this?
Oh, yeah.
This is probably the original King Kong.
Yep.
But we were little kids, maybe 7. It was back in those days. And in this town, kids could kind of just go on their own and go to on their own and so and so. So I had to be maybe 8 years old, and I'm with my cousins, and we went to see King Kong, and it's not just getting toward evening. So we're sitting there with our popcorn, and King Kong came on that stage. We ran out of the theater. He scared us to death.
He was huge, man.
It was huge, and it took off the whole scale. And we went home. We went home, And so, our parents and my sisters, and so they, wait a minute, the movie can't be over yet. And so I really was embarrassed that I was frightened. You understand? I was very embarrassed that I was frightened by this, whatever it was, gorilla. And I was a nightmare about it with a gorilla and me and my father in the kitchen, and this gorilla comes in, I mean, shortly after this, but I felt really embarrassed because I had a bunch of sisters, you see. So
okay. Where were you in the lineup?
Bottom. You understand? I have explained, some of this. You understand? I'm the youngest, and but everybody wants to make sure that I'm this tough, gruff, couldn't know. And if somebody called me the N-word when I was a kid, I had to go beat them up. That's why I'm so gruff now, because I was taught to be.
Because that is funny. You do have a gruff exterior.
Yes,
like I remember when back in, but you know what? You weren't the only one. A lot of you cats. Back in that, y'all acted off.
Yeah. It's a generational thing. You understand?
Okay. Because y'all definitely, all you musicians had that thing.
You're right.
And you had it. But once you decided that you were going to, I had to be approved. Like once I was approved by you guys, then it was all good. Then I belonged to all of you.
And that's when I look back. And I realized I've been around so many characters. And I was a lot of time, for many years, I was around much older guys than me, you see.
Yeah. I want to go back to the King Kong story.
Oh, King Kong. Yeah.
I'm
going to finish that. So, okay, now you got to realize this is back in the 50s. So my sister is a senior in high school, and she's playing in the talent program. The high school puts on a show.
Oh yeah, talent show
in the 50s, now upstate New York. But people have to, it's hard to believe, but back in those days, it was a minstrel show. You understand? With Inman, with black face and the lip, but they were white people. My sister was probably the only black person in she just played the piano. But the theme of the show was a minstrel show where you got Inman and the guy, hey, who was that lady I saw you with last week? That was no lady, that was your wife, and so, one, and then, but one of the Inmen, and I'll use the term Inman, for those who don't know, in a minstrel show, you had these people, sitting at both ends, that you may have 2 or 3 on each side, but they're in blackface with the white, white lips and so on, so on, so on, so. And they're mimicking, their characterization of black people, you see. So one of the end men in the show went out, one of his, because these are high school kids, but one of them went out and played the clarinet. You understand? Went out and played the clarinet. And he played a tune called the 12th Street Rag. You understand? But I'm looking at these people these people in blackface on the stage. And to me, I don't know that they're supposed to be black people. I aren't like any of the black people that I know. So I leaned over to my other sister we're sitting in the audience. And I leaned over to my sister and I said, he's pretty good for a gorilla. And I thought he was a gorilla. And my main point, I was trying to prove that he doesn't scare me. You understand? It's a gorilla, but he plays pretty good clarinet. You understand? So a tune called, and so by then I'm like 9 years old or so and so and so. But he played the 12th Street Rag. It's old diddle 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 diddle. That's the 12th Street Rag.
Yeah.
So, but that's what he played, So now you get into 5th grade, and the end of 4th grade, and they ask you to pick out an instrument. You can start into 5th grade. So I picked the clarinet.
Wow.
And so they went and rented a clarinet and so on and so on and so on. So when they taught you, they say, okay, now this is F. Now this is E. Now this is D. I said, oh yeah. I said, diddle 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 diddle. So I started playing right away. But it was, that's the whole thing with the gorilla. And
how deep is that? That was the inspiration for you. Yeah. To pick up the clarinet. Wow. Well,
that and one other thing. And to see the Benny Goodman story, you see. Benny Goodman was one of the early people to hire black musicians. Yeah, so this is back, when Benny Goodman was the biggest jazz.
In the 40s, right?
Swing, you understand?
Yes.
So I see, and in the movie, they showed Benny Goodman and having these black people band, Okay, and my father was a musician in this white town, but there were times to where he had white musicians working for him in the 40s.
So what did your parents play?
Okay, my father, you got to go all the way back, and I'm not sure, but my father tells me that his first instrument was a banjo, but he was out as a drummer in a 5-piece band and doing playing places across the country, the East Coast, in 1928. In 1928, he's out there on the road with this band, and they have a job coming up. And you gotta think there's probably, prohibition and all of that going. Yeah. But anyway, he's scheduled to come to my hometown in 1928, and there was a 5-piece band, and the saxophone player in the band was a man. His last name was Turrentine. Was the father of a very great one of my heroes, Stanley Turrentine.
Yes,
was from Pittsburgh, but Stanley Turrentine's father played with my father in 1928. And they get this job coming to this Olean, New York. And Turrentine had a family emergency to where he had to go back to Pittsburgh. So they needed a saxophone player in the band. So my mother's brother, Dar, played saxophone. And so Dar, my uncle Dar, and his uncle also played saxophone, and my grandmother went to a conservatory in 1800s in Meadville, Pennsylvania, so and so. And then her father was a band master. But my uncle Dar made this gig with my father's, and so he met my mother there. His sister played piano, and he met my mother in 1928. And so they had a band together from about then, and plus in their spare time made 7 children. So that's sort of a bit of family history.
So music is just in the blood.
Yeah, music. In other words, when I was born, 4 of my sisters were singing on the radio. The Easleys had a boy. You understand? So I came into the world as like big news. You understand? And that's affected me for the rest of my life. I had a wonderful mother, 6 sisters, 3 wives. So I've always just loved women, you understand? In other words, I've never thought of a woman as a second-class citizen. You understand?
You've been taught well.
I'm an expert, you understand? I mean, if I wish I knew now what I knew when I was 18 or so. You understand?
Wait a minute, you said you wish you knew now.
I wish I knew.
18.
See, I have to admit, I was Gomer Pyle's most of my life. Yeah, I mean, really. I was a small town, country boy from Olean, New York. Because I went right to New York when I was 18, and I've been a whole lot of places. And when I look back at my life, I say, I remained an old, stupid country boy most of my life. I think I just got hip maybe last year. But I'm hip now. Hundreds and hundreds of musicians that I've known over the years that are no longer on the planet. They're living in my head. There are certain phrases that certain musicians used to say. I'll give you one of Harold Minerve. You remember Mr. Minerve?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Mr. Minerve, you say to Mr. Hey, Minerve, what's happening? How you doing, Harold? He said, ain't nothing shaking but the leaves on the tree, and they wouldn't the wind wasn't blowing. You understand? Or my friend
Sound like him.
Yeah, my old friend C.I. Williams. Hey, C.I., how you doing? He say, everything like socks on a rooster. So I say that now, and people say, what does that mean? I say, he never told me, just an expression that he used. And if somebody says that to you, you don't ask them, what does that mean?
This is true.
Yeah, but I use it all the time. And every time I use it, people, what is that? But I said, no, my friend used to use that. And
everything like socks on a rooster. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Just like, all right. Go ahead, I'm gonna let you talk.
So, all right. So you pick up a clarinet. I'm all the way back there. You pick up this clarinet. Now, coming from a musician family, did anyone in your family play clarinet?
No, but in other words, they always had a saxophone player in the band, you see. So, and when I was a little boy, they would rehearse in our living room. And I remember I may have been still reaching up and grabbing the saxophone player's reed or something. You don't touch my reed.
I know that's right. I know.
So they always had a saxophone player. So when I started playing, usually they'd have a 4-piece band, Back then, musicians would go wherever there was work, you understand? Mm-hmm. So when I was, and this is the first time I ever saw this guy, and his name was Clyde Dickerson. And he migrated from Bristol, Tennessee. And he kept, because they'd advertise in a magazine, they'd say, band looking for a saxophone player who does this and does that. And as a kid in the church, and the church was right across the street. And as a child, we'd go to church every Sunday and a Christmas program and, different concerts and things they would have at the church. So when you're a kid and you go to church every Sunday, anytime that they would have a guest or somebody new in the church, And at that time, the minister's name was Reverend Chappelle. And so Reverend Chappelle would say, we have a guest with us tonight and from, Oklahoma, and he's coming this, and would you have a word for us? And the person would stand, oh, thank you, Reverend. I enjoyed the service this afternoon, and I want you to pray for me, and I'm going to pray for you, and I really love this service this morning. So Clyde Dickerson, first time I could see Clyde Dickerson sitting there in the pew, and he's bald headed, and he's got this tenor hanging from his neck,
Yeah.
Just says, we have a guest that's just come to town and he's going to play for his saxophone for us tonight. And he says, would you have a word for us, Mr. Dickerson? And Clyde had been in church in his life, and he stood up, hey, what you say, man? He said, what you say, man? And I remember they pretty much had to put me out to church, you understand? To this day, that's the funniest thing I ever heard.
So you just started laughing.
Yeah, everybody laughed, but as a kid, that was hilarious to me, He said, what you say, man? Like that,
Yeah.
When he left, he was the doorman at the Watergate Hotel. This is long after I'd left home, and then he left Olean and he moved to Washington. He was a doorman for many years at the Watergate Hotel.
In Washington.
Watergate break-in occurred. That man that found found the unlocked door.
Yeah.
He worked there, and him and Clyde were friends. He had to hide out at Clyde's apartment for about 2 weeks because before they didn't want the story, and they were going to murder this man before the story of Watergate broke. And
wow.
That's where he was hiding with my guy that I knew very well, Clyde. And by that time, Clyde's nickname was Watergate Clyde. He was a character that and because that one of the first wild characters, and I've known hundreds and hundreds. And
I know you have, because you're one yourself.
Well, no, but see, this is the thing, and I'm talking. See, I'm into human growth. Human growth and development is my favorite subject. And when I think about it, I say, and this is not just me, is everybody. You eventually become a product of everywhere that you've been and everyone that you've known. You understand? If in fact you take in, there are some people that are reclusive, but if you're the least bit open and willing, you take in something from everybody that you ever meet. Even if it's something you don't like, or even if you learn what you don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
From this, I don't want to be like that. You got it from somebody, So
right.
That's everybody.
Right.
Okay, let me be quiet.
No, that's pretty deep, because it is important to be open, because you are a reservoir. You are taking in everything that's occurring. But what I think happens to some people is they take it in and they keep it in. They don't know that they don't have to absorb everything. I'm speaking to the empaths of the world.
You're right.
You don't have to absorb everything.
Boy, you grown up. You got.
I grew up a little bit.
You're a lot smarter than you were 40 years, 20 years ago. You understand? And you're right. You're right about it. But this is something that in my 70s, I've just figured this out, that I never really thought. See, some people are very closed, and some people don't even really want to be bothered with no other. They couldn't care if they said hello to you or not. You understand? Mm-hmm. They're really not that much interested in other people. And I'm thinking of a couple people that they may not even say hello to you. You understand? Mm-hmm. Really not. They're not interested in talking to you. They have and I've just figured it out. There's certain people, not a lot, but a few people, and I've finally accepted the fact, well, they don't want to talk to me. I want to talk to them, but they don't want to talk to me. And it is their right to not talk to me. You understand? Mm-hmm. I'm very aggressive and very, but as you said, sometimes people run when they see me come. You understand?
I didn't say that, you did.
Yeah, well, you inferred it. All right.
But Bill, you're touching on something that is I find fascinating in the sense of this whole thing about age. What you just shared about in your 70s and coming to this realization.
Oh, yeah, you have to keep growing.
You have to keep growing. I think that people, and myself included, when I was younger, particularly in my 20s and 30s, we look at people that are older and we think that you stop growing after a certain point because people that are older seem to be very closed and not really open to wanting to learn new things. So you get this impression, like from childhood on up, that people over a certain age are dead already, and that they don't continue to grow and that they know everything.
That's true.
For you to make that statement about in your 70s, coming to this realization, lets people know that, you're still evolving. It doesn't matter what age you are. Right, if you are breathing, whether you want to or not, you're evolving in some form or fashion.
Absolutely.
It may not be in the direction you want to evolve in.
No, you have to figure out what's next. In the human brain, as in the universe, past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. Only thing, we got time here because we got a clock and we're rotating on an axis and we're going around the sun. So we have to measure time. We have a lifetime, be it 20 years or be it 100 years. We have a period of time. But our spirit, and we understand it in our mind, past, present, and future all exist simultaneously. In other words, I'm having a bad moment. If bad, pandemic and so on. Because every time I'm thinking about that, I can go back to a better time. Boop, just like that. I'm on a sophisticated, we're down in Jackson. You understand? Boop, I mean, vividly.
Yes.
Maybe everybody can't do that. I'm not sure. But I know that I can go back. I visit my mother. I visit my father. People that have been gone. In my head, I can go back and relive that experience just like is happening right now.
And I'm glad that you're saying that because we don't realize that anytime we have a recall, we're recalling something that happened and we get emotional. It's because in your mind, it's happening in that moment that you are recalling it. You are still connected.
You use a good word there. You say, see, in other words, not only should you remember the detail, you got to remember what it felt like. See?
Yes.
I try to visit the good times, because see, and not only when you get older, and the truth of the matter, see, feeling good is a full-time job. The whole idea is to feel good. You understand? I feel good.
Feeling good is a full-time job.
Full-time
my
job.
God, Bill, that's like that is riches right there. Feeling full-time job.
And I have role models. One of my best friends lived to be 98. I've known a lot of people that had a lot of longevity. So not only do you learn what to do from those people, but you also learn what not to do. You understand?
Yes.
So right now here I'm 75, but tomorrow's not promised. But as I say, it's easy to go back to the past and relive things, and that you're in the now. But you also have to be able to project into the future, and you have to visualize. If in fact I'm still here at 90 or 95 or 100, what am I going to be? What am I going to be when I grow up? You understand? Way back when I was a kid, before I left home, and back in those days when the minimum wage was $1 an hour or something, I worked construction right after I got out of high school to save my money to go to New York. But I'm making $3.30, which is a whole lot of money. But my sister was already in New York, and she had worked with a guitar player that had been a studio musician. He was white, but he gave up his studio work because he wanted to be a star. She said when he was a studio musician, he made $1,000 a week, which was unheard. That was like $1 million today, but
Yeah.
But at 15 years old, I said, this guy did it all backwards. What I'm going to do, I'm going to go to New York and I'm going to become a star first. And then I'm going to give all and I'm going to become a studio musician and I'm going to make $1,100 a week. Way back when I was 15 years old.
Oh.
Fast forward to those days of those bus and trucks, or the plan had been gone a million different directions since then. It wasn't quite as simple as I had planned it. No matter what I was doing, and if you're on the road and you get a per diem check and you get it,
That's right.
when I would add up my money, it would be $1,100. I said, damn, this ain't the same $1,100 that I dreamed of. Can't even pay the mortgage, you understand? But it was $1,100.
I just talked to another musician who gave a similar story in terms of getting exactly what he asked for and realizing that he had to redo the request.
You have to reset it. Unless you have to start off with a whole lot bigger goal.
Exactly.
But the truth of the matter, it is attainable. And, I've never, even though I come from a music environment, but I've never took any pride in thinking like a musician. You understand? I'd rather think like a plumber. You understand? If people think you're a plumber, they're more apt to pay you.
I want to talk a little bit more about your career and what you've done.
This is the late 60s. I was with George Benson. This is back in the days when George's whole band was booking for about $950 a week.
The whole band.
$150 a week. We stayed mostly in rooming houses for $13 a week, $14 a week. And that was the greatest 2 years of my life. In Memphis, I went there cold turkey, but I worked with Isaac Hayes during the heyday and during Shaft and all of that. So I'm and then doing all the recording at Stax and so on and so on and so on.
You were part of that crew, the Stax crew?
Sure. I migrated to Memphis when I was about 25 years old. I lived in Pittsburgh for a short period of time, but I knew I had to get out of Pittsburgh. Furthest place I could get from Pittsburgh was Memphis, Tennessee. I knew there was some music going on. When I get to Memphis, by the time I get to downtown Memphis, I had a $20 bill in my pocket. And I didn't know one soul in that town, so I got a room at the YMCA for $13 for the week. And I asked her, where's some cats playing and blah, 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 blah. So first place I went into, there was a drummer that used to be with Jack McDuff by the name of Joe Dukes, who was from Memphis, and he happened to be back in Memphis, sort of trying to get away from his habits, and into Joe Dukes. So out of knowing no one in that town, I use the term all the time, divine intervention.
Oh, yes.
I can tell you about 500 stories about divine intervention. So here I am in a town to where I don't know one soul. I got to Memphis, Tennessee on Tuesday. By Friday, I'm working 7 nights a week.
So you get to Memphis, you have $20 in your pocket, no one.
$7 by the time I paid my rent.
Well, that's what I was saying. You pay your room, you have $7.
Yeah.
And you're working on Friday. So now to end that period, what was your mindset? Did you worry, or did you know that you were going to be able to make it through?
Let's talk about ground zero. Sometimes in your life, you go to ground zero. But you learn a lot going from
sure do.
Zero. You can build a whole new building. You understand? I knew, push come to shove, I've got good health. I can wash dishes. Many times a gig come to an end, I said, well, I can go stand on the street corner and get a cup and play. But so far, I ain't never done it yet. You understand? Boom, something will come up. One door closes, another door opens.
But that's been your philosophy. What I'm trying to get at.
From life.
Aha.
The key to everything is gratitude. You can talk forever about what you don't have. If all you got to do is be grateful and more stuff comes to you, more stuff. I'm living my best life.
What are you currently doing these days?
I've never had a band. I've never been a band leader. I've made records accidentally, and I have about 6 records as a leader. And they all of them ended up being in the top 10 of airplay on the jazz stations and so. But I've never had an interest in being a band leader or anything like that. And I really wasn't that much interested in making another record because the whole music business has changed now.
Yeah.
No, but my last record was a 1 million seller. Did I tell you?
No.
Yeah, I got 1 million of them in my cellar. But anyway.
Walk right into that. I should know better. I walked right into that. Just,
that was a joke.
Just walked right into that.
Oh. Anyway, but plan on making a record with some, not in New York, but with what's available here. And there's some cats that can play everywhere. So, but
where are you now? Are you
Durham, North Carolina?
Okay.
But the name of the record it's not just about some music. It's about a philosophy of life. The name of the record is going to be called No Matter Where You Go, There You Are.
That's right.
Peace is here. You understand?
Pieces, yes.
You don't go somewhere looking for some peace. If you ain't got it where you are, it ain't over there. Just like we said, feeling good is a good time.
Full-time job. I wanted to ask you a question about practice. You play many instruments.
I don't play them all every day. No.
Oh, okay. So
mainly what I play, the flute. I play more than anything now because the flute just has to do with the breath of life. There ain't nothing vibrating but you understand? And it's about air. Other than time, air is your next best possession. When you run out of air, that's pretty much it. You understand? So I play the flute, and then I pick up my other horns, and clarinet I may pick up once during the week or so sometimes. But if you've been playing it for 65 years, it's sometimes you pick it up and you find new things, or you found some things that you knew a long time ago that you forgot about.
Bill, my goodness, I cannot thank you enough.
My pleasure. I'm sorry I couldn't think of anything to say, but maybe. All right.
What fun. He's so much fun and so joy-filled. It's contagious. Look out for Bill's album. It drops in March. It's called Diversitonic. You heard him reference Wherever You Go. And there you are. Those are 2 original tunes on his album. Make sure you check him out. Go to BillEasley.net and learn more about this incredible, legendary artist. I hope that you enjoyed that and was thoroughly inspired and uplifted by what you heard. If you are in a situation currently that is unfulfilling to you, be it a job or a career you've been pursuing, and you feel like there's something else that you really want to do, or you already know what that is, get quiet. Sit still, breathe in and out deeply, and begin to envision what that is that you wish to create. And remember, there's nothing too big. It's only small ideas. Think big and write that down. What is it that you wish to create? Write it down, put it in your phone, speak it out loud to people that are supportive of you, and go for it. Go for it. Don't delay. Start now, even if you plot in your mind what your escape plan is going to be. But go for it. This life is meant to be lived to the fullest. Take advantage. No matter what is happening in your life right now, there can always be room to create more. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to visit JacquieBirdSpiritualWellness.com. Join my mailing list. I have audiobooks, guided meditation videos, and audio and meditation music, everything for inspiration and to help you relieve stress, increase your mindfulness and awareness and presence. and remember to always roll with peace in mind.